Hey, you're watching What Was That About? Hope you're doing well. My name is Moses Khan. I am with Dr. Tony Soldano, who's the lead pastor here at All People's Church in Brampton, Canada. How you doing?
I'm doing well.
I'm doing well.
I hope this show is okay today because the producer is tired
Yes.
and is yawning. So I hope that, anyway, we don't get cut off.
Shots.
Shots fired.
Well, there's a lot of stuff happening. The news is full of it.
Grim.
Yeah, it is. It
Grim,
is sad.
grim,
It
grim,
is.
grim, yes.
It is. It is sad. It is. Actually heartbreaking to see what is going on, the deaths and the rest of it. In the
Hey, can I ask you a question?
Yes.
See, you're always asking me the questions. Why can't we, our program today is on the update on what's happening in the Middle East.
Yes.
Why is it, do you think, there is such a struggle with just calling terrorists and just dealing with people that tell us who they are and what they are doing and what they have done? Why is it that in the West in particular, we have such a struggle calling terrorists what they are, naming what they do? Why is it that we always have to bend over backwards
Yeah.
and not be able to call evil evil? We have news outlets like the BBC, the CBC, a leaked document from the CBC that told their journalists and their reporters not to call Hamas terrorists, but to call them militants.
Yeah.
By definition, a militant is someone that carries out a military operation. That's not what those people did. But why in the West are we so lost, in your opinion?
Well, I think it's ultimately there's fear. I think there's a fear, and then there's an agenda, right? To make this look like two neutral parties at a disagreement trying to resolve their conflicts through war, right? And through violence. And so I think that's the picture the media wants to pitch. Of course, the media is not going to say, this is Israel versus terrorists, because then everyone's going to go against the terrorists. And we know there's a large group of people from that part of the world that if you use the word terrorist, they're going to go, oh, why are you calling us terrorists? It's like, nobody called you terrorists. We're talking about the specific group operating over there, doing horrific and terrorist acts like raping, kidnapping, blowing up, and the rest of it. You know what I mean? But I think it's fear of people, their opinion. You notice that scripture of when Jesus asks the Pharisees and the high priest a particular question about John the Baptist, they didn't answer him because they knew who John the Baptist was in the eyes of the people. And so they just said, we don't know, right? And they didn't answer his. So I think it's that, and I think there's an agenda.
Yeah. Isn't it interesting that even the people then that protest in our country, in our city, in the Western world, if you are not denouncing those things, then you must be supporting them. Right?
Yeah.
Now they don't always come right out and tell you that, but if you are doing those things, like for example, we stand with Israel, our faith is is a Judeo-Christian faith.
That's
All
right.
our Bible comes from there. If Israel were to do these things, we would denounce it. We would, as God's people, people of truth, we wouldn't hide those things. We would say, this is evil, this is wrong. We are calling it out, and we don't stand for it because we're not politically or socially motivated. We're motivated by truth.
Yeah.
Yet on that side over there, it doesn't seem to matter.
Nope.
Truth doesn't matter. The facts don't matter. Accuracy doesn't matter. They always operate out of this victimization, which we've talked about. They always seem to have this spirit of rejection that they are always trying to overcome, and they never can denounce evil. Like they never could say, "Hey, listen, we have an issue or we have a cause, but what happened was evil. These were terrorists." They didn't attack a military post. They shot people in their cars. They shot young people that were at a party. They burnt babies. They did such atrocities to innocent people, completely unarmed. And then we have other groups of people that will not denounce it, and the media particularly, the media that won't call it what it is, like will not call it for what it is and who they are. And I've always had this philosophy: when people tell you over and over who they are, believe them.
Believe them. Absolutely.
Like they're telling you, we are terrorists.
Right.
We're here to terrorize and victimize people. Call them for what they are.
That's right.
And then let people, formulate their own opinions based on the truth and the facts. But the more that, as you say, we water it down, we sugarcoat it, hey, they were just militants, they have a cause. Hey, don't you know they have issues too?
Right.
So that justifies it because they have issues, because they are oppressed, right? Then you can behave like barbarians. That's really the reality of it.
Yeah, and there's countless interviews and that you can go pull up where people from Palestine, from that Gaza area, even politicians have been asked to denounce the horrible acts done by Hamas, and the answer that they give is, well, it's more complicated than that. So they won't denounce it, and it's like that should reveal to you, who these people are. Now, there's a lot of things being said, and there's this ideology. Even I'd like to hear your thoughts on this, Pastor. This phrase that violence is the language of the oppressed. That if it's the oppressed that retaliates to whatever. In violence, in brutalization of people, of children, of women, of the destruction of property, whatever it is, it seems to be justified because, quote unquote, violence is the language of the oppressed. And we saw it with other movements that happened here with Black Lives Matters. We saw it with movements with the Pride stuff. We see it where they claim this flag of oppression, and so now their violent acts, no matter how horrific, are justified.
Yeah, for as much as they talk about the threat of the radical right, it always seems to be those on the left that are violent. Right? They're the brutal ones. They say, oh, the radical right, and I'm not saying there's not incidents there, but the majority of the evil and the violence that occurs is from the radical left. These victimized people. Here's what I would say to that, Pastor Moses. It's almost like it depends who does the violence. Like if Israel or those with conservative values are violent, immediately you're denounced.
Right.
But if it's on the left, well, that's understandable.
Yeah.
Even in our own country.
Right.
When Catholic churches were being burnt down, right?
Right.
By the way, without evidence, no mass graves were even found in our country after all 2 years of investigation. And some 80 Catholic churches were burnt down or burnt to some. And the prime minister says, well, that's understandable.
Right.
See that violence is understandable. So it's applied where you want to apply it. So if we feel it is justified, then people have to kind of get it out of their system.
That's it, yeah.
But I come back to that, I come back to the truckers, completely non-violent group for weeks on end.
Yeah.
They brought their trucks and they made noise and they caused a disturbance and they were treated like they were about to overthrow the country. See, because it's a different agenda.
That's right.
It's a different thought process. They're the fringe minority. They're labeled. They're shown to be in a certain way in the media. But if it's anger from the left, if it's anger from the side that is so brutal, and then it manifests in violence, well, it's understandable to loot stores and have swarms of people come in and just rob. And that's okay because people are frustrated and they are oppressed.
Yeah, exactly. And that's their whole agenda. They don't ever want to take ownership, responsibility. And it's like you don't understand the freedom and the liberty you're giving to future movements and future groups every time you move the line and make allowances for certain actions.
Yep.
It's like, this is not how you're going to resolve future conflict.
And what did Jesus teach us? You know, he said to Peter, who felt threatened, by the way, who felt victimized. He said, you know, put away your sword, because those that live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword.
That's right.
And so, though you may feel victimized and oppressed or whatever, the moment you operate by the sword, that eventually will take you out.
That's right.
It's that spirit, it's that mindset that Christ delivers us from.
That's right.
That is not the answer. But I'll tell you, when we have the media, when we have government that justifies people's state rather than providing real solutions
that's it.
and real answers, that just fuels the situation, because what they do is they say, those people are your problem. Nero did it with the Christians, right? He burnt down Rome and said, oh, it's the Christians, and the Christians got persecuted. You know, they constantly tell the Palestinians, oh, Israel, it's the Jewish, they're your problem. They're, you know, if it wasn't for them, your life would be better. Well, since 2005, 2006, Israel has now ruled Gaza.
Right.
Hamas has ruled Gaza. Can I say it this way? Their own people have ruled them.
Yeah.
So, but you see, you're not going to be angry at your own people. You need an enemy.
Right.
You in every story, you need a villain.
Yeah.
And we're never the villain. Our people are never the villain. So you need to tell yourself a story. You need to create a villain so that you have expression for your anger, and then ultimately it turns into violence, and it's becoming more and more prevalent. It's becoming more and more the way.
Right.
And isn't this what Paul said? He said, in the last times, dangerous times, perilous times are coming.
Right.
Because this manifestation of anger and frustration is mounting, and governments don't have an answer.
Yeah.
They do not have an answer for the human heart. Only God has that prescription.
That's good. Well said.
Somebody should tweet that.
Well said. Well said. I don't know if you have any other thoughts, but I think that was a good place to close it.
That's good.
Hey, listen, thank you for joining us for today's episode. As always, we encourage you to comment, let us know your thoughts, your opinions on this matter. If you're not subscribed, would you consider subscribing? Like this video, share it with a couple people that you know. We love and appreciate your support. Thanks for this conversation, Pastor.
Thank you, sir.
We'll see you next time. God bless.